sweetie. You're so pretty. No, please don't take my phone. So, a few days ago, I turned 35. Thank you very much. Last 16 years, I work in corporate. Last maybe 8, I'm a manager. And a little bit more than 4 years ago, I moved from Russia to the Netherlands, which makes me an immigrant. Or you can say expat for the days that you want to feel good about yourself. And today I want to talk about how I did it, why I did it, and also share some of the opinions that I apparently cannot keep to myself about the difference between how it was in Russia and how is the work and life that I experience right now in the Netherlands. First of all, I want to say, for the first few years of my work, I think I did not put any thoughts into my career. I was just doing whatever. I don't know. I was just rather going with the flow, if you can say. And I don't think I even had thoughts about the career and what do I want from it. It was a little bit, when I think about it, it actually feels a little bit foggy. But I remember when it changed. And it changed when I first started to work with expats. So there were people from abroad who would go to Russia to work there in international companies. And I remember the first time I saw them, I observed how they work. I was shocked. Because when you only work in the same country with the people who speak the same language with you, who have the same cultural code with you, you have a relatively limited kind of horizons and exposure. And I remember the first time I saw how differently they work, how differently they approached work, I was like, oh, so it can be like that? So it is possible to do differently, because I already knew that there are things in Russian way of working that I don't personally like. But I just never thought that it's possible to live differently. So this for me was a turning point. And I think that was many years ago, that was the starting point of me thinking, okay, I want at some point to experience that and to learn that. And this is where the thoughts about going abroad to study, not moving permanently. I still have a cough or I don't know, maybe I got allergic to something, I don't know. So sorry for that. The thoughts about, okay, maybe I want to study abroad, to learn it, to experience it, to expand my horizons, because I felt that I don't want to limit myself with only one way of doing things. So this is when the idea to do an MBA in Europe started. I was already working for quite some time. I had an experience, so I was thinking, okay, MBA can be a good next step, and also a lot of good leaders that I looked up to, they had MBA, so I was thinking, okay, maybe that's a good school of life. So I picked MBA in the Netherlands. I had a few that I chose from, and I decided to go there because of English, because in the Netherlands you can survive without knowing Dutch. So for me, I thought, okay, that's a good advantage, and the program is in English. So that's how I moved. It was in 2020, and it was in the middle of the pandemic. Up until now, I'm thinking that was such a tough journey. First of all, everyone who relocated to study went through a lot. It's a lot of preparation, a lot of paperwork. I think pandemic just made it much worse, because you have everything is closed. You cannot just go and sign the documents. Everything is just more complicated. And also I had another circumstance, the financing that I arranged for myself in a European bank that was supposed to give me a loan a month before my flight, before I was supposed already to go to the Netherlands. They rejected my funding. They said, yeah, sorry, we changed our minds. We don't want to work with students from Russia. So I was devastated for a day. I decided, because things were crumbling in my hands. So I decided, okay, I give myself a day to be absolutely devastated. I cried my eyes out. But the very next day, I said, okay, let's do something about it. And without more details, I succeeded. So I found money, I arranged a loan for myself, and I already repaid it, which I'm very proud of. But this is how I originally moved. And I wasn't sure even until the very end of MBA if I want to go back or I want to stay. Because the thoughts that I had were, okay, I want to learn the best practices in management and in leadership, and I would want to go back and promote them and do business in a way that I myself consider right. And I had these moments up until the end of MBA, but then the circumstances obviously changed quite a lot. So I decided to stay. And I'm very, very happy with this decision. Although there are a few things that I miss in the Russian working culture, and I think maybe it's Eastern European working culture. And there are things that I'm not a big fan of in the Netherlands. But before that, I want to say that often when you move to another country to study, and even if you have had a very good career before, there is a chance of a downgrade when you will be looking for a job in here. So before I moved, I already had a very good career, you can say. But when I started to look for a job in the Netherlands after MBA, I felt that applying for the same type of positions were very, very challenging because you don't have yet experience of working in this country. And it's understandable, so people are kind of suspicious of your experience in a way. So there was, in my case as well, kind of like a downgrade with the first job that I had in the Netherlands, which sometimes can be painful because you feel like you're kind of taking a step back. But at the same time, it's just the reality. You need to know that, you need to live with that, and just accept it as a part of moving abroad. What else can you do? So first, there are quite some things that I did not like when I worked in Russia. When I worked in Russia as an employee, and also when I worked there as a manager. There is this concept of power distance. And in Russia, the power distance is very, very big. For example, if an intern in a company wants to give a suggestion of improvements to a director, that's unthinkable, that's impossible. Because the working culture is relatively hierarchical, and that's just how things are. There is a distance between manager and employee. And although a healthy distance is always good in any cultures and in any countries, I would say in Russia it is very, very big. What annoyed me a lot is that leaders in Russia are expected to be masculine, so they're expected to kind of rule with a strong hand. And even when you are considering opinions of people in your team, it can be viewed as a sign of weakness. And it is kind of far from my personal approach to management. I like collaboration. I really like listening to opinions of others, and not everywhere, of course, there are different situations, but I don't mind consensus. But in Russia, it just doesn't work. If you will try to pull something like that off, you will just not be taken seriously in a way, especially as a woman, especially in the IT. Don't even. I won't even start on that. That's a separate video that will take hours. So this is one part. And the consequences of that is that decisions are not made together with people. A lot of Russians don't like to delegate decision-making power, because this is the elitism of being a leader, is that you have this decision-making power in your hands. So the decisions are made by a relatively small group of people quite often, and it keeps you detached from people that you work with in a way. So there is no open and transparent conversation about what is going well, what is not going well. This power distance creates barriers between employees and management in a company, which in some cases may work on you, because a lot of things are working very top down, a lot of things are happening in a very like army like manner. Scared to say that. But if you want to innovate, if you want to collaborate, if you want to get more from your teams than just executing what you tell them, then this is where the challenge starts. This is where I think very typical Russian businesses are not doing that well. Also, partially because of that, one of the consequences of that is every time that you are told in Russian, let's say, working culture, as an employee, every time you're told, hey, just tell me what you actually think. Tell me the truth. When your manager says this to you, tell me the truth. That's like the biggest trap. Like when you approach a cat and the cat is showing belly and says, oh, you can pet my belly. And then it just destroys your hand. So that's type of situation. So if you are actually fully honest and transparent, there is a high chance that this will backlash you. And a lot of people, I knew and I saw a lot of people who were trying to give a constructive feedback to the managers with the best intentions possible. But at the end of the day, no good came out of it, or maybe not much, and not for them. So they were claimed as problematic and disrespectful to managers in a way. So that's a trap. Now. Just doesn't work. Versus the Netherlands, where the one of the signature features of work in the Netherlands is that the power distance is low. So there is a very high tolerance to people approaching others despite their role or their position if they actually have something to say, which I really, really like. That's a good part of working in here for sure. But in Russia, because you have this untransparency, you also have a high fear of a mistake. So you usually try to hide your mistakes. There is no culture, or not a lot of companies where there is a culture of actually celebrating the mistakes as learnings in a constructive way. No. If there is a mistake, you need to hide it. Because there is nothing good that will come out of it. And I also think my observation is that management in Russia is supposed to be very serious. So this thing annoyed me actually to my very core, because I prefer to take my work seriously, but I don't like taking myself too seriously. And this is so annoying because I remember I was sitting in the room of course, men, of course, older than me, and they are saying such stupid things that I like. So stupid decisions, so illogical, and they're all sitting with so serious faces, and I look at them and I really want to say, what is happening? So I think when I was younger, I could easily be fooled by that. If the person is very confident and serious, you kind of give credit to their decisions much more that they probably deserve. But with time it just went away, because after you see time after time how these people are doing the most stupid and ridiculous decisions with the most straight faces you can imagine, that's just that's just no. So this is the thing that irritated me quite a lot. But on the contrary, there are a few things that I really, really miss. For example, in the Netherlands, people don't make friends at work, you can say. They don't... there is good relationship. You can develop good relationship and you can develop some sort of bonding, but it's uncomparable to what you would have in Russia. Because in Russia, we all work a lot as many Eastern Europeans do. And like people are getting married at work, they develop friendships for life at work. And I think this level of warmth and this level of bonding, I don't see so far in the Netherlands. And this is one thing that I genuinely miss. Hello.
Hey.
Hello. There is nothing here.
No.
Hi. Hi, sweetie.
But he's very, very weird the last 2 days, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. Puberty, I guess.
Aww. That's just life. Aww. You're so pretty. Hello. No, please don't take my phone.
Go there.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, sweetie. Gosh, what was I saying? I forgot. Hold on. Oh, yeah. So, I forgot how to hold it. So, I also remember, and this I think is important. I remember when I was in Russia, all foreign cultures were blended in one big ball of not like us. Only after I moved and during my MBA, when I got exposed to actually really, really different people from different countries, I realized that Dutch culture, working culture is very different from American working culture and from Indian working culture. So this, when you don't have this exposure, there is a level of ignorance, I think, that you have. So I remember I did not even distinguish between Dutch and American working cultures, which are very, very different. But right now, after a few years of working in the Netherlands, I like that the power distance is not there. This I like. I like that Dutch people don't take themselves too seriously. Of course, there are some, but most of them don't. And this is something that just speaks to me personally, and Dutch humor can be quite fun from time to time. So there are a lot of very good things that make me wanna stay here and make me wanna work here until I possibly can. But of course there are challenges, and I think Dutch people are opinionated. They have strong opinions on so many things, which I don't think is a bad thing necessarily. But I think that sometimes I see Dutch people arguing about very, very small things that I don't think deserve energy and time, and they're very, very passionate about it, and they have very strong opinions about it. So sometimes I'm kind of puzzled by that, you can say. That's a bit unusual. And also, I think how we express emotions is kind of different. I think I saw a lot of Dutch people who don't express emotions that much. I'm not sure. Is it because they cannot? Or is it because they just don't do it or prefer not to do it? But I think the level of emotional expression is different for Russians and versus Dutch people. That's for sure. So all in all, I can say that I enjoy working in the Netherlands more than I enjoyed in Russia. Borderline painful to say this, but my work-life balance here is better, although I still work a lot, you can say. I also have the YouTube channel. I also do mentorships from time to time. So I'm always busy. I don't think I still rest as much as I probably should. But I see that the work-life balance is better, and the pressure, maybe there is still, of course, pressure. If you are in the business, that's a mandatory part of life. But it feels a bit different, and the corporate cultures feel a bit different. So all in all, I would say I'm very happy that I work here, although I think that, okay, I understand that I'm not very typical Russian in a way that I'm usually at work, I'm usually energetic and very positive, and I have a lot of energy to give outside. And sometimes even I feel that for Dutch people it may be a little too much, because they're a little bit more on the reserved side. They can be a little bit more reserved, and sometimes even when I express my emotions, of course, like in a reasonable manner, in a working context, so I sometimes notice that they don't know how to react. So I'm sure that even Dutch people who work with me have this adapting curve. I actually don't know if it's with all Russians or not. I think most of the Russians are actually also a little bit kind of emotionally distant. So maybe that's just me problem. That's just my case, not everyone. I don't think I've ever enjoyed my work professionally as much as I do here. Although, with full honesty, a lot of things that I still miss. So, yeah, that's that.